Hello, everybody. My name is Albin, and I am founder and CEO of Fundcaster. Just tell you a few words about what we're doing. Fundcaster is a crowdfunding prediction engine. We help entrepreneurs create and launch successful crowdfunding campaigns. Using our proprietary technology, we compare key performance metrics of every new campaign to its most similar successful campaigns, allowing users to not only identify critical areas, but also address these prior to launch. You also see a picture of my co-founder, Elena Bakhtina. Her main job is to keep me honest and apply science and disprove everything I'm thinking. So education is obviously going to be a very important part of what we're doing because I don't think it's enough to just tell people here are the issues. I think it's important to tell them also, and here's what you can do about it, right? So on April 23rd, we're going to be launching a live online class. Today, we just want to give you a short preview of methodology and what it is we're going to be teaching in this class. So I think the core belief that we have is that your campaign should not be a gamble. It should not be hit or miss. Crowdfunding is no longer a black box. It has been around for a while. I think last year alone we ran over 4 million campaigns globally. Entrepreneurs use crowdfunding to raise more than $5 billion. However, in spite of its growing adoption, 7 out of 10 campaigns fail. And it's really a big problem. I think it's too bad as well, because at this point we do have enough data to start drawing some conclusions. Our mission is really to change how people approach crowdfunding, from a gut and speculation driven to data driven. And I have heard some complaints. Some of my crowdfunding friends have accused me of trying to take the art out of crowdfunding. And I think that is absolutely not true. I realize there are two sides to every coin, and I think that every crowdfunding campaign can be examined from quantitative and qualitative aspect. And we're going to cover how to do that in this course. So I always tell people you don't have to be data driven, but you have to be data cognizant, right? A little bit of background. This course is a result of 2 years of research and field work aimed to identify key elements of the success and failure in crowdfunding. During our journey, I've interviewed over 200 previous campaigns. Truth is, I don't know how many has it been at this point because we just kind of stopped counting at 200. We've in-depth analyzed over 85,000 historical records. We have new data coming in all the time, so things are still very dynamic and changing. I've personally helped on 15 plus campaigns, and the reason why I say 15 plus is because I'm also the organizer of a local crowdfunding meetup here in Atlanta, where we help people prepare and launch their crowdfunding campaigns. I'm also proud to report that we are yet to have somebody join the meetup prior to launch and not launch a successful campaign. So what have we discovered during our journey? I think that all of the failures can be traced back to one of these issues. It's either network width and activation. So you might even have enough friends, might have enough reach, but you have not really activated or primed your network. People have not done a good job reaching out and just exciting the network. Another big problem is inadequate preparation. People simply just don't know what it takes to run a successful campaign. And lots of them, even if they have an idea of what it takes, they pull the trigger too early. They launch premature because of a PR opportunity or because they've just set a date. They've maybe told their network, hey, we're going to be launching next week. And they've done it without being ready. I think it's actually a much better, much more forgiving thing to do is to tell your network, look, we're just not there. And I know lots of successful campaigns who have delayed their launch multiple times. So that's what you should be watching out for. So don't fall in that trap. I think what you want to hear, what you're more excited to hear, is who succeed or what works. And in the beginning of my journey, I thought that some people just intuitively knew what to do. But I also realized that, and this was my big epiphany, that some people were able to recreate their success at will, which also kind of led me to believe that, this has nothing to do with luck. This has everything to do with preparation and methodology, right? So again, another observation was that it's not just intuition. A large percentage of people who succeeded were actually repeat entrepreneurs. So they had some background and knowledge of what it takes to launch a new product. And some of the main things that stood out from everybody else is they really put a lot of time into preparation. Successful campaigns took anywhere from 2 to 3 months to prepare and launch. I've also worked with people who took up to 6 months. They did not have artificially imposed deadlines, so they didn't launch before they were ready. And I always tell people is, your goal is not to launch a campaign, your goal is to raise money. So if you want to raise money, you want to make sure you're prepared before launching. Another thing that successful campaigns did better than those who failed is they usually worked in teams. And we already know that teams of 4 or more, on average, raise 85% more in crowdfunding. So you really need to surround yourself with a team of competent people. Successful campaigns also did a great job leveraging social media. Crowdfunding is a byproduct of proliferation of social media. If you don't have social media presence, you need to build it before you can run a successful campaign. I hear it way too often. People come up to me and they tell me, I have this great idea, but I don't do social media. It's kind of saying like, I'm a great swimmer, but I don't really touch water. You can't have one without the other. During the course, we're going to be talking about the torrent of tools already available to you and the best ways to utilize them to really grow your social media reach, and as well as understand what it looks like and understand how to best leverage it during your campaign. Successful campaigns target and recruit early adopters. You have to really understand who's your target consumer and get them to partner up with you. Don't be incognito startup. Run your idea by your network. You're always going to have people who are going to be extra excited, who are going to be willing to partner up with you and help you bring your idea to reality. I have a rule. If you're asking other people to finance your next venture, you're an entrepreneur. I don't care if you're an artist, performer, filmmaker, dancer, or technologist, you're an entrepreneur. So you really kind of have to act like one, right? The thing about entrepreneurs is they have inherently strong reality distortion field. And that's not bad. It's actually it's what makes you you, and it's what makes you capable of seeing the things that others don't necessarily see. However, you have to keep or maintain touch with reality. And I like to say that, the bridge from dreams to reality still has to be built in reality. So more than most, we're inherently at disadvantage at estimating our own ability. I think a great example of this is that, 75% of people claim to be better than average drivers. So how do you protect yourself? Well, believe but verify. And how do we do that? Well, I say the answer is in scientific method, right? We have to pose the correct question or the right question, do background research, construct hypothesis, test your hypothesis by doing an experiment, analyze data, and draw a conclusion. Because you really can't manage what you can't measure. Application of scientific method to launching products has already been around, and it's changing the face of entrepreneurship. Actually, in the last few years, governments and big corporations have started adopting this approach. It's become quite a movement. What we're doing in this class, Campaign Engineering, is applying the same methods and same rigor of testing and validated learning to crowdfunding. So how do we do this? Well, we start by defining the goal and identifying the critical components of our plan then devising small tests to validate or invalidate our assumptions about these critical components. So you probably already heard the overused expression fall fast. I think that a more constructive and telling version of that expression should be fall fast but fall small. Failure is sometimes inevitable. However, just because something failed, it doesn't mean that the entire idea was flawed. Using scientific method to identify the exact point of failure allows us to adopt and move forward. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you have a strong method, so-called failures become just the bits of reality you have to adopt on your way to success. Nothing more. Okay, so let's talk about how do we define our goal. Well, for the purpose of crowdfunding, we like to use this super secret, complex, quantum refactoring 007 formula to divide your campaign goal by the anticipated mean pledge, which is really the lowest reward level where you're going to be offering access to your product, right? And when I say product, it can be concert tickets, film, widget, or whatever it is you're trying to crowdfund. So math is obviously very complex, but if you just feed the numbers, you will get the approximate number of backers we need to pledge to hit our goal. So what this does is it allows us to think of our goal in terms of traffic we need to drive to our campaign page in order to succeed. And here's another real useful fact. Here's another little useful piece of information. And in crowdfunding, it's known as a 30% rule, which states that 90% of all campaigns that reach 30% of their funding goal within first 5 days, I like to do it in 2, meet or exceed their final funding goal. So now we have 2 points on the plane and a measuring stick, right? So I like to say that there are 4 main ingredients or 4 pillars you have to have in place to run a successful campaign. And those are value proposition, your team, social capital, and marketing campaign. And by value proposition, what I mean is simply, what is it you're trying to crowdfund? What is you're trying to bring? What it is that you're doing that is worth supporting, basically. It can be a tangible product, it can be a digital product, a movie, or even a cause. Whatever it is, others have to perceive it as valuable. Being able to quickly and clearly communicate your contribution and why what you're doing is important and impactful will make all the difference in the world. Despite what you might think, backers quite often look at the creator and/or team behind the project. They want to know that you're real and that you're capable of delivering on your promises. Connecting your social media profiles to your campaign makes it easy for backers to reach you and engage you, while also providing the proof that you are who you say you are. So there's a reason also why most accelerators won't accept single founders in their program. Successfully launching any type of product is tough. I don't care if we're talking about a watch, book, app, play, or a concert. Launching something, launching a product is lots of work. Surround yourself with competent people. You will have to convince everyone that you and your team are up to the challenge. And social capital is currency of tomorrow. Understanding your own social capital and finding the way to grow it will provide you with a mechanism to convert your ideas and know-how to resources and reality. So not only do you and your team have to be competent, you have to be able to communicate that competence to those who are passionate about the same thing that you are. Social capital is really your ability to engage networks of individuals and convince them that you can and should deliver on something that they want or need. Excuse me there. So, you can have the greatest product and a great team, but without clear messaging and good marketing plan, your campaign will never get in front of your potential backers. To run a successful crowdfunding campaign, you have to have a very clear understanding of who are your backers, what do they like, and why do they care? Where are they? Who do they follow, and how are you going to get to them? And what marketing assets are you going to use to engage them? And here I'm simply talking about, video, campaign, page, rewards, messaging. That having a clear understanding of how many backers you need, who they are, as well as having a good plan and strategy to drive them to your campaign page will make the difference between slapping together and engineering your campaign. So Class is designed in a way to make you understand the landscape, draw the blueprint, and test, measure, and improve the strength of each one of these 4 pillars prior to launching your campaign. I have to admit that those are some big promises. So how do we plan to do all this? Well, if value proposition, team, and social capital are the main ingredients, then marketing campaign is the catalyst that converts those three ingredients into gold. Communicating the value of what you're doing, why you're the right person, what you have already accomplished is going to be the basis of your campaign. However, remember that to run a successful campaign, you have to figure out who's your target backer, how are you going to reach them, and how are you going to engage them. I'm going to teach you how to find your target consumers, optimize your campaign assets, pitch, video, rewards, and so on. Meanwhile, testing, growing, and optimizing your social media reach. And wrap your head around potential conversion rates, meanwhile growing your social capital. Okay, so let's talk about the curriculum. In week 1, session 1, we're going to be covering the basics. We're going to go into more depth on 4 pillars and how to understand and optimize those. We're going to try and figure out, are you a really good candidate, right? Because I don't believe that crowdfunding is the answer to anything. And also there are 4 different types of crowdfunding. You really kind of have to make sure that the type of crowdfunding type of campaign you're trying to run makes most sense considering the stage of your project or company, and as well as the type of offering you're trying to crowdfund, right? Then we're going to talk about different stages or life cycles of your campaign. There are different activities associated with pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. In session 2, we're going to talk about social proof. We're going to talk about some crowdfunding statistics. I don't want to bore you with too much, but I do believe there are some things you really do need to know and understand. Then we're going to talk about campaign engineering, which is really drawing a blueprint for your own campaign. Second, we're going to talk about, after that, we're going to go over campaign modeling, which is really kind of how to do the research, how to do that quantitative and qualitative analysis of other similar campaigns to understand your own journey and what you're going to need to do to be successful in crowdfunding. Week 2, we're going to talk about channel discovery, which is really meant to make you understand your own social media landscape, you and your teams, if you're working with a team, and how to identify the influencers and the thought leaders in your own social network and in industry in general. After that, we're going to talk about the campaign assets. We're going to go over value proposition, your campaign page, video and rewards, as well as how to engage your network to optimize those. Key here is how to optimize them prior to launch, right? Make sure that what you have, what you've come up with, is something that people really like and are willing to get behind. Week 3, we're going to talk about social media blitz. Basically, how to utilize social media to drive traffic to your campaign, as well as PR and similar activities. Pre-launch checklist, we do want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, so to speak, before you press that launch button. Then we're going to go on to the launch event. We're going to cover campaign gamification. There's some pretty cool tools out there that you can use to your advantage. We're going to cover ambassador engagement, talk about social media updates, different types of updates, and how you can utilize them to further drive traffic to your site. Then we're going to go over traffic ramp and traffic optimization, right? You can't manage what you can't measure. We have some pretty cool tools that you can use to optimize this, as well as regular updates and campaign troubleshooting. I actually love troubleshooting in general, but I'll tell you, you don't want to be doing too much troubleshooting. And the truth is, the more work you put into this up front, less troubleshooting, less headache you're going to have on the back end. But we still need to know, we still need to cover some of the basics of, if this is going on, you need to switch to this strategy and so on. So then we're going to wrap it up with, how to close the campaign. So you've run a successful campaign. I'm not sure if you're aware, but most successful campaigns, and actually usually the more money they raise, there's a bigger delay in their delivery of the product. So we want to talk to you about some of those issues, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid them in your crowdfunding journey. Also, I'm going to assume that after you run your campaign, that's really not all you were after. I'm hoping that most of you are going to use what you've learned or the product that you've validated to kind of start an ongoing business, or at least to maintain the contact with the people who backed you for future projects. Another thing I should mention is each week we're going to have different guest speakers. Some of them are celebrities. It should be very exciting. And also, we're kind of committed to being able to spend some one-on-one time with each campaign. As you might have seen on the Eventbrite page, we're going to be holding one-on-one office hours every Friday. So this is really it. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in our class.